Hello and welcome to Potternyms, a Harry Potter podcast about Wizarding World words. My name is Al, and I'm a giant nerd. With me is my co-host and brother.
Hi, I'm Erik, and I'm not quite the Harry Potter geek or word nerd that Al is, so most of this will be new to me. Obviously, there will be spoilers.
Each week, I'll choose a Wizarding World word and tell you all about why it is so awesome and clever. So whether you're like me and you know most of this already,
Or you're like me and most of this is a surprise.
I hope you learn something that will add to your enjoyment of this phenomenal fantasy world. So today, I want to talk about a basilisk.
Ooh.
You remember what that is?
Yeah, the basilisk is the giant snake.
Exactly. Basically the major villain, or one of the major villains of Book 2, The Chamber of Secrets. So, basilisk, the word, comes from the Greek basiliskos, which means little king. Basil means king and iskos is little. So
Little. So far, this name doesn't sound like it fits at all.
Exactly. Well, another name for a basilisk, another nickname for it, is the Serpent King, which is perhaps a little more fitting. But that's actually comes from the fact that it has like a crown-shaped crest on its head or a mitre-shaped crest. You know what a mitre is?
I do not.
It's basically the Pope hat.
Oh, okay.
That funny-shaped hat that the Pope wears. That's a mitre.
Okay.
It's from that shape that the name Serpent King comes from. But maybe this legend sprang from like the Egyptian cobra, who has kind of a crest around its head, you know. But one thing that's consistent in all of the legends of a basilisk is that one look directly into the eyes causes instant death.
Ooh.
Don't want to look that thing in the eye.
No.
No. In medieval Europe, it also sometimes had like poisonous breath or even fire breath. So it's a deadly little creature.
Okay, so kind of dragon-esque.
Yes, exactly. Kind of dragon-esque. And it could range from 12 inches to 12 feet, which is a little different than in the Harry Potter books.
Yes, I'm remembering, well, at least in the movies, something much bigger than that.
Yes, exactly. In the books and the movies, it's about 50 feet long and lives about 900 years.
Oh, wow.
So that's an old snake.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you remember in the book, nobody actually dies from looking at the snake. Do you know why?
Yeah, I remember that people were seeing its reflection rather than maybe looking directly in the eyes.
Exactly, yeah. So this is something that's not really part of the basilisk myth in general. It's something that JK Rowling added for Harry Potter, that if you look indirectly at it, you're only petrified, so basically kind of frozen, and that you can be revived by a mandrake restorative draft. So everyone in the book looks at the basilisk indirectly, either as a reflection in water or a mirror or through a camera lens or perhaps my favorite, through a ghost.
Through a ghost.
Yes. Through nearly headless Nick, who's already dead, so he just get petrified too because he's already dead.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But the one character that does die prior to the book's starting is Moaning Myrtle, the ghost that haunts the toilets. I don't know if you remember her.
Oh, she's killed by the basilisk.
Yeah.
Oh.
And she wears glasses, so glasses aren't enough because they're too clear. There's no distortion. So she actually died. But a basilisk, a legendary basilisk, is not a natural creature, even a mythological natural creature. It's something that's created. And it's a similar creature to a cockatrice. In the cockatrice looks a little different. Have you heard of a cockatrice?
I have never heard of a cockatrice.
It's kind of a funny word, but it is like a serpent-like dragon with a rooster head and wings. So it's kind of a funny-looking creature.
Yeah.
So they're not that similar in looks, but they are similar in how they're created. To create a basilisk, you have to have a cockerel or a rooster sit on the egg of a toad and hatch it. Kind of a funny way to create a Create a mythical creature, huh?
Yeah. I mean, so technically that could happen in nature, but
Right?
it sounds like in the mythology, it's someone is forcing that to happen.
Exactly. They're sitting that rooster on that toad egg. And then the cockatrice is the opposite. It's the egg of a rooster incubated by a toad. You can imagine a little toad sitting on a rooster egg. And it's a rooster egg, not a hen egg.
Which makes zero sense.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe, the cockatrice is a bigger creature and more dragon-like. So maybe Rowling used aspects of both the cockatrice and the basilisk to create her monster.
I see. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So basilisks, one interesting thing about them is that they're always male. They're created, so there's no need for multiple genders for procreation. They can't procreate. In the wizarding world, they were created by wizards. The only known ones were created by Herpo the Fowl.
Herpo the Fowl.
It's a good dark wizard name, right?
Yes, but it's kind of goofy too.
It is a little goofy. So he was a Greek dark wizard who discovered how to create a basilisk. And the other well-known wizard who created one is Salazar Slytherin.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yes, and he created the one that's in Hogwarts, that's in the Chamber of Secrets.
Oh, okay.
Now, the creation of basilisks was banned in medieval times in the wizarding world. So the only one known still to exist is the one in the Chamber of Secrets, who's over 1,000 years old, which is pretty old, even for a Harry Potter basilisk.
Yeah, it's senior.
Yep, it's an old dude. So the earliest written mention of a basilisk in our world, in mythology, is in a book called Natural History, written by Pliny the Elder in 79 AD or CE. And he described it as being 12 fingers long, lethally venomous, and it had a couple of weaknesses. You want to guess what its weaknesses were?
Teenaged wizards.
That would be very appropriate, right? But actually, if you want to play with a little wordplay, that could be very appropriate.
Really?
Yes, because I don't know if you remember in the Chamber of Secrets, Ginny Weasley, Ron's little sister, she's basically kind of possessed by the diary of Tom Riddle, young Voldemort, into letting this creature out of the Chamber of Secrets. Letting the basilisk out.
Mm-hmm.
But the two weaknesses of a basilisk are odor of weasel and tears of a griffin. So if those weaknesses carry over into the wizarding world, Ginny shouldn't have been a good choice because, a little wordplay, Weasley, weasel, odor of a weasel, right?
Okay.
She should be one of its weaknesses. And also tears of a griffin. Ginny was a Gryffindor.
Oh, wow.
Might be a stretch, but I thought it was fun.
Might be a stretch, but that's a pretty big coincidence.
Right?
Yeah.
Why did she choose that character when those are the two weaknesses?
Yeah.
But in the Harry Potter world, the venom of a basilisk is very powerful. It's one of the most powerful things in the world. It's so powerful that it destroyed the diary Horcrux, which we'll talk about in another episode.
Okay, good.
But there are a couple of ways that a basilisk can be killed. One of them is it can basically kind of commit suicide. It can look at itself in the mirror, stare into its own eyes. But the other method to kill a basilisk, it can be killed by the crow of a rooster.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah, right? So all of the roosters were killed at Hogwarts. In the beginning of that book.
Oh.
Because they could be fatal.
Oh.
Although it's kind of funny because, basilisk is incubated by a rooster.
Right.
So basically that rooster has to walk away as soon as it's hatched and not crow for it to survive.
Yeah, or maybe the basilisk, upon hatching, kills the rooster.
Ooh, it's already deadly.
Yeah.
Like, hi, Papa.
Rawr.
Look you right in the eye and you're dead. Well, do you remember how the basilisk was killed in the Harry Potter movies and books?
I don't.
It was ended up being killed by Harry with the Sword of Gryffindor.
Okay, there's some symbolism there.
Mm-hmm.
Killed by a griffin, the Sword of Gryffindor. kind of makes sense.
Yep, exactly. It works.
And a sword seems more deadly than the crow of a rooster to me, so that's more exciting for a book and movie.
Right, you would think. It's a little more dramatic.
Yes. Can you imagine just like Harry like whipping out a rooster from his like backpack or something and goes, "Rah!" and the thing just falls over?
That would be hilarious. She should have done that.
Well, maybe one of our listeners can animate that for the public.
That would be really funny. I want to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just had one more little tidbit here. The basilisk, is this mythological creature, but there is a real animal called a basilisk lizard.
Oh.
Yeah. It's found near rivers and streams in rainforests in South and Central America. And it has a crest on its back, and on the males, the crest goes to its head and tail too. And it can grow up to 2.5 feet long. So it's large, but it's not, the serpent in Harry Potter large.
Yeah.
But there is one cool thing about the basilisk lizard. Its nickname is the Jesus lizard. Do you have any idea why it might be nicknamed the Jesus lizard?
I have no idea.
Well, it's because it can run across the surface of water.
Oh, it can walk on water.
It can walk on water, exactly. So basically, it kind of lifts up its chest and puts its front legs at its side and just zooms across on its 2 back legs really fast.
Okay, I've totally seen that lizard in like YouTube clips or Nat Geo or something like that.
Right, exactly. That silly little lizard running across the water, that's a basilisk. It's a scary.
Very scary lizard.
Right?
Yeah.
But actually, the young basilisks, when they're still pretty light, they can get up to 15 miles an hour and run like 10 to 20 meters, like 33 to 66 feet across water.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty far.
Okay. Skills.
Yeah, so that's a real life basilisk. What do you think about that or the mythological creature and how Rowling adapted it?
Yeah, well, it's really cool that it's both a real creature and a mythological creature. I like that she adapted it and made it her own.
Mm-hmm.
I like the whole reflection thing is necessary for the plot, but also just kind of a cool thing to add.
She's like, it's only book 2. I don't want to kill anyone yet.
Right, yeah. Yet, keyword.
Exactly.
Spoilers. Very cool. Well, I mean, as with everything we've talked about so far in this podcast, she's pulling a lot from real life sources.
Yeah, she really does.
And then just adapting them slightly, but it's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the basilisk, this has been the first creature from the wizarding world that we've talked about, but I assume that there will be many more to come.
Yes, there are lots of interesting creatures in the wizarding world, some of which are pretty normal mythological creatures and some of which are pretty unique.
Well, I look forward to learning about more of them. And if you'd like to learn more about all the other words that we'll be talking about on this podcast, make sure that you're subscribed and following us on our Facebook page. And if you're a super fan, we'd love you to go check out patreon.com/Potterdom, where there are a variety of ways that you can support the podcast and get extra content.
We're on Twitter too, @Potternims.
That's right.
Well, I'm Al.
And I'm Erik.
And this has been Potternims.